But just last week, we did hear of an athlete who knowingly was lying about the contaminated supplement. Andrew, tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. No. Toby Johnson. Yo, it is my opinion that we're going in the right direction. And I say that because we've got Toby Johnson last week tested positive twice, A sample, then B sample. After the B sample, he came out and said, yep, I was taking GW501516. And then I made a video talking about how he had a devastating knee injury and GW501516 was not going to be the thing that would have helped him recover from that devastating knee injury. I think that he may have likely had been taking a peptide or something else. However, I don't think he was being entirely truthful there. Now, this whole video might be a little bit about truth. So if you don't want to hear a whole bunch of opinions on what I think about truth, you should probably shut it off right now. But in that video, I did not think that Toby was being entirely truthful. That was an opinion. That was something that I would like for him to hear, and maybe he can take that opinion, let it marinate a little bit, and then give us a little bit more. Maybe he can tell me to go fuck off, or maybe he can come out and say, you know what, you're entirely right. I was taking TB500 or BPC157 or something else that I don't even know about. In comes Nycolas Joyal. Nycolas Joyal competed at the Atlas Games. He finished 5th there, so he qualified for the CrossFit Games. After the first day, he had won the first 2 events. When we were doing the semifinal coverage on the Savant podcast, we were going back and forth. There's myself and Brian Friend and Taylor Self and J.R. Howell, and we're all thinking like, hey, have we ever heard of this guy? Of course Brian has heard of this guy. Brian's heard of freaking everybody. I'd heard of Nycolas Joyal as well. That rhymed. And what I remember was that when I would do the Wodapalooza qualifier or the Granite Games qualifier, he'd always be right at the top of the leaderboard, and I knew that name from there. And then I would never really hear too much of a follow-up of these competitions because in the live competition, he would sit somewhere middle of the pack, and I'm not trying to say that he cheated in the qualifier. I'm just saying maybe he's better at those sorts of things. Don't take my words and run with them, all right? Really trying to cover my bases when I say shit. All I'm saying is that he was a very good qualifier type athlete. Well, he was on drugs during the qualifiers. Who the fuck knows is the thing. We're talking about truth, remember? So the truth is, great qualifier athlete, middle of the road competition athlete. He's been that way his whole career. He talks about how he's been doing this for 9 years now, and if you look at his open performance, he always does rather well in the open, and then when push comes to shove, regional semifinals, whatever, he ends up finishing like 10th to 15th, kind of like I remembered he would at the Wodapaloozas and the Granite Games of the world. In comes the year 2022. On the Savant podcast, Nycolas Joyal speaks a bit about how he wasn't performing quite as well as he would have liked to in the open, so he begins to look into a little bit of supplementation. When he looks into supplementation, he comes across the holy grail of CrossFit drugs, GW501516, which if you don't know by now, you cannot take. You cannot take because it's illegal. It's banned by WADA, drug-free sport. We'll find it if you take it because the metabolites just sit in you for fucking ever. So don't take it. Not if you compete in the freaking drug-tested sport like CrossFit. And probably shouldn't take it anyway because it might give you cancer. Anyway, Nycolas Joyal is 28 years old and he's got that devil on one shoulder saying, okay, you're not in great shape. So he says, take this drug and all of a sudden you'll be in great shape. And then angel on the other shoulder. Don't do it, Nick. You've tried so hard for 9 years. Don't do it. You wouldn't do this. You're going to disappoint everybody. The thing about drugs is people tell you not to take them for a reason. Sevan on his show always talks about nicotine, and for the rest of his life, he's going to have the devil on one shoulder saying, oh, it's just one time. Remember how great it was? And there's always the super sexy appeal to taking drugs. Why does anybody do heroin or marijuana or any of that? Maybe you want to impress a girl. Maybe, I don't know why the hell people do drugs. I hate alcohol. I'm just lucky to hate alcohol. I don't know how people can say, oh, I enjoy this beer. It's like, you're weird. Maybe it's because I know how bad alcohol is for you. That it's like that scene in freaking Dodgeball where he's got the zappers on his nipples and he's trying to eat a donut, and every time he goes to take a bite, it zaps him. And I know that if I drink alcohol, it's got like horrible deleterious effects on your health, and I don't want to start anywhere. So I haven't had any in a long time. Not an alcoholic or anything. I just don't want to do that to myself. It's like, what's the fucking point? I'd rather have some food that I also know is bad for me, and everything's bad for you. But in the case of Nycolas Joyal, he's got the GW50156 devil on his shoulder, and then he's got the paleo angel on his shoulder. It's like, just do everything the right way. You're so close. And he's sitting there like, I finished in the exact same spot every year. I want to do it. I'm 28. No looking back. So for 2 weeks, he tries out the freaking cardarine. He said that he was standing there with the cardarine, and he was like shaking. He's like, oh, okay, once I do it, I'm never going to go back. Oh, I'm doing it. Does it for 2 weeks, since he doesn't notice all that much. However, he does end up conveniently having his best performance ever at a level of competition as high as it was, that being the Atlas Games semifinal, finishing 5th. When he popped positive on that drug test, there was also ostarine in there. MK2866. Was his supplement that was a performance enhancing supplement contaminated with ostarine? I don't know. Like I said, we're talking about truth here. We never know the whole truth. We have to assume that what he's giving us is a pretty close picture to the truth. And I guess we don't have to, but you, sitting on your side of the freaking TV screen, computer screen, have a brain between your ears, and it's going to do one of two things. It's going to tell you that everyone's a fucking liar. It's going to tell you that whatever he's saying is entirely the truth, or mostly partly the truth, or it's going to tell you that it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter!
I'm currently sitting here with the it doesn't matter brain. I like to tell myself that I'm sitting here with the it doesn't matter brain. But Andrew, it matters for Patrick Vellner, and it matters for Austin Spencer and Connor Duddy, and you know I love Connor Duddy. How could you say it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter!
It's like, well, if you listen to Patrick Vellner on the Savant podcast, it very much seems like it doesn't matter. He's still going to the games, he's still doing his thing, and sure, it might matter more for Austin Spencer, but it's up to them and their brain and their scenario to decide their opinions on it. Just like it was up to Nycolas Joyal in his kitchen or whatever with his freaking bottle of PEDs. It was up to him to do that thing, and it was also up to him to do whatever it was, saying he took whatever it was that he had taken. Was it Cardarine? Was it Ostarine? Are you going to be sitting there thinking, he's a fucking liar, he was doing Tren, and then there's going to be other people saying he didn't do Tren? It's like, does it just seem like a waste of freaking energy? I think that we should be appreciative that there is a story out there. I also think that there are a shit ton of other athletes out there using stuff that don't get caught, maybe because they aren't using GW501516, maybe it's because they understand that the clearance times are not as accurate as they may be interpreted to be on the internet. Maybe they have access to a whole bunch of better chemists making their own creative supplements that WADA doesn't know about. Who knows? I think it's interesting, but it doesn't piss me off. It doesn't get me agitated. But what does get me agitated is the Costco parking lot. Sit in the Costco parking lot. My windows, you see how you can't see through that thing? When my car got stolen, the people who stole it tinted the ever-living shit out of my windshield. You can't see in there. So what happens is I get in the parking lot, I'm sitting there, I'm answering some comments on YouTube, I'm parked, the car's turned off, and I see the guy in front of me finish up loading up his car. So if I'm parked here and he's parked here, he takes the shopping cart from the back of his car and he puts it here. He's just standing there with his hands on the shopping cart. He looks left, he looks right, and then he like kind of stutter steps and moves away, and then he kind of moves away. I'm sitting there and I'm watching the whole thing go down. I put my phone down, I grab my wallet out of the car, and I go, hey, I'll take your shopping cart. I'm going to put it back for you. And he was just like, whoo! And he was throwing back. He's like, oh, fuck. And I fair well knew that I wasn't going to put it back. I was just going to go use the thing because I was just getting to the store. I needed a shopping cart. But I wanted to put the fear of God into this man so that he knew that if he ever did that shit again, that there might be somebody sitting in a car with a tinted ass fucking windshield watching him. And it's a weird thing about me. I remember I was taking a shower and I was like 7 or 8 years old. And I was like, I gotta pee. And I'm like, I could pee in the shower. And I also was thinking like, no one's going to see me pee in the shower. I could just pee in the shower. But then there was also someone telling me, it's like, what happens if somebody walks in and you're peeing in the shower? It's like your mom's gonna be so angry at you, like, that's so gross, don't pee in the shower. And I was like, okay, I can hold it. I'll just wait till I'm done in the shower and I'll pee in the toilet like I'm supposed to. And that's a weird thing about me, is I always have that thing. It's like, all right, if you were watching, what was the right thing to do in this scenario? So that was me when I was 7, and I would have to say that I would hope that it has adapted and evolved in my head, at least, to the point where if I were to go pee in the shower, I would just own the fact that if someone walked in, they're like, you're peeing in the shower. It's like, yeah, I felt like peeing in the shower. Like, what? Like, you think it's gross? It's like, well, that's your fault for thinking it's gross. I just wanted to pee in the shower. And you know what? I have since peed in the shower. And I wanted that guy in that parking lot to think there might be that weird raging dude wearing the Cobra Kai shirt, no mercy, coming out of his car screaming at me if I were ever to do this thing again, because you could tell he knew that he was doing the wrong thing through his just like body movements and his eyes moving around and his like stutter step. And that's what we're saying about Nycolas Joyal. He said that he knew that he was probably doing the wrong thing. He was sitting in his kitchen. He goes, once I do this, I can never turn back. He also said that he saw my video after he had already been doing it in relation to CrossFit Shoefly, the athlete on that team who was taking GW501516, and he had to pull his car over because he felt sick to his stomach. He was going to throw up, and he knew that at that point he was entirely fucked. Does this make any of it better? No, not really. He still did it. Does that mean that you sitting behind your computer screen should come after this guy? I don't think so. I think he knows. Everybody knows when they fuck up. Sometimes you gotta gotta let it be known that someone fucked up. Andrew, you got out of your car and you yelled at him. Like, yeah, he has to know that he fucked up, because when he did that, he was just gonna keep getting away with it. Would Nycolas Joyal have just continued to get away with it? That's up for him to decide. But you know, and everyone knows when you're doing something wrong. So in this case, when I got out of my car, I'm the CrossFit game saying, all right, motherfucker, your A sample is positive. Nycolas Joyal does it right away. He did everything that he could at that point forward. Just like now, I expect for this guy in this parking lot to only and always put his shopping cart back, because it's what's expected of you. And I guess it wasn't expected that Joyal goes and tells everybody, because CrossFit Games would have made a statement. But I think if anything, we should be appreciative of the fact that he is saying, here's my story. If that guy in the parking lot would have come up to me and said, I'm really in a hurry, blah, 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 I probably would have been like, yeah, bullshit. I could tell that you weren't in a hurry. You're a fucking liar. And maybe that's what's going on with Nycolas Joyal. Some people are getting a little bit of that interpretation, but I don't get that from him. What I get is a guy who's going through a bit of a hard time, dealing with his fitness, made a bad decision, is going to be paying for it for the next 4 years. He doesn't need praise for doing the right thing, but we should be appreciative that he did the right thing, because it's something that we would like much more than the other end of the spectrum, which is just the blatant lies that we hear from some other people sometimes. Not naming any names, but just last week we did hear of an athlete who knowingly was lying about the contaminated supplement. Andrew, tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. No. Toby Johnson. That's it. Was a contaminated supplement. Said it was a contaminated supplement, but it wasn't a contaminated supplement. So fuck you in my tinfoil hat. Moral of the story is, you are a person sitting where you're sitting with access to this freaking thing, the cell phone and the computer and the fucking keyboard and all this shit. What is it that you're going to do in relation to another human being? And if you were that human being, what is it that you would want to be done to you? In my opinion, all I want people to do is to heed possibly the advice that I would be telling them, because that's what I would want from other people. Like, tell me what the fuck it is I could be doing better, what it is I'm doing wrong. From there, I'll make up my own choices, but I appreciate it and I'll try to get better. Nycolas Joyal, I'm sure he'll get better. Did he cheat? Yeah. Did he get caught? Yeah. Was there a better method to have done this? Would he have gone further? Who knows? Alternate universe. Fuck the alternate universe. We're living in this one. What do you think? Andrew Hiller, out.